Hey, it is Google Ads tutorial time. I'm going to walk you step by step through creating a new Google Ads campaign in a new Google Ads account. And I'm going to do this in the new Google Ads interface. So when I say new, I'm talking about the interface that Google has been rolling out in the last half of 2023 and will continue rolling out in 2024. Now, I'm not going to call the previous interface the old interface because in my mind, I've been through so many interfaces with Google that old means something from way back in the day, way further away than what we've been using for the last couple of years. But anyway, be that as it may, if you're watching another tutorial about Google Ads on YouTube and you see an interface that looks different than what you're going to see on my screen during this video, then you're probably looking at the previous interface. And things may make more sense to you if you watch this video and look at things in the new interface. And if you're wondering, who am I? Why am I making this Google Ads tutorial? I'll tell you. My name is John, and I am with StubGroup. StubGroup is a digital advertising agency, a premier Google partner, and we have a team of experts who help businesses dominate Google Ads and make money online. And if you ever get stumped by Google Ads, if you're ever tired of spending your time on Google Ads rather than on other aspects of growing your business, and you want to bring in some professionals, we're here to help. Reach out through StubGroup.com. We'd love to chat. But circling back, let's dive in. Let's go through this tutorial, and I want to tell you how I would set up Google Ad campaign in this new Google Ads interface. So first of all, on my screen, you're going to see this page, and this is essentially the first page of this brand new account. I've not entered any information into it yet, so you're going to watch step by step as I do that. Now, what they want you to do is to put a business name here, your website URL, click next, and kind of create a campaign through their DIY interface, and then enter your payment details, and then start spending money with Google immediately. That would be their ideal. And you can do that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to recommend that you click this handy dandy button right here, create an account without a campaign, because it's going to let us create exactly the types of campaigns that we want without having to go through the DIY interface. So I'm going to click on that. Now, next up, we're going to have to confirm our account settings. These are super important. You can basically not change these after you create the account, so get these right the first time. Time zone and currency and billing country. I'm going to say US, I'm going to say Chicago time, and I'm going to say currency. I'll use default. Now, next up, you have this option here. Do you want personalized campaign guidance from a Google Ads expert by phone? Yes or no. If we select yes, you can enter your phone number, and it says you may qualify for a no-cost consultation in the next 30 days. Now, should you do this, I'm going to point you to the video that we have titled, Should You Pay Google for Advice? Which, even though in theory you get a no-cost consultation here, the same idea, same concepts matter. So you can see there pros and cons of taking Google's advice with your campaigns. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to say, nope, I don't want personalized campaign advice, and I'm going to click Submit. Now, on this page, it says you're all set up. You can create your first campaign. So let's go ahead and continue to your account. And here we are in the new interface. Bear with me if I spend some time figuring out where some things are in the new interface, because like I said, Google's still pushing things over. Most of the campaigns I've been working on recently have been in the previous interface, so I'm still getting used to this new interface as well. But again, all the same concepts apply. So here we are. We are going to create a new campaign. So first you see lots and lots of options. Sales, leads, website traffic, what do you want? I'm going to recommend, and in this demo, I'm going to use create a campaign without a goals guidance, because I want full control over every setting. I know how I want the settings to be, what I want to use, what I don't want to use. I don't particularly want Google pushing or pulling me into specific things depending upon what I answer here. So I'm going to go with this create a campaign without a goals guidance. Now you got a whole bunch of more options. Do you want to do search, performance max, display, shopping, video, app, smart, hotel, or demand gen? So some of these are kind of intuitively only relevant to some business types. Hotel obviously is good for hotels. App is good if you have an app. Video is if you want to run videos, etc. For the, I'm going to say the normal lead gen business, you could use search, performance max, display, video, smart, and demand gen. Those are kind of the options that for the standard lead generation company you might use. If you are in the e-commerce space, if you're selling products through a product feed on your website, you could add shopping into that. Now, should you use all of these? Not necessarily. Here's what I'm going to do for this demo account. I'm going to focus on search because for the vast majority, especially for lead gen clients, you're going to start out, or I recommend starting out with search campaigns. That's what I would call the lowest hanging fruit. And you're going to dial things in, get things working as well as you can with search, and then expand from there. And so I'm going to focus on search here. Now, if you want tutorials like this for other campaign types, let me know in the comments, and we can make more tutorials to help people out. But for now, let's focus on search. And what does search mean? Search is text ads that appear when you search on google.com. It can also mean showing up on search partners, which I'll explain when we get to that part of the demo here. But primarily, it's text ads that show up when you Google for something. Next up, we've got select the results you want to get from the campaigns. So let's say, honestly, I'm not going to select any of these because, again, Google's kind of trying to push us towards things. I'm going to show you what settings to use, so I'm going to move on. Google's going to require you to select at least one of these things in order to move forward, I believe. So I'm going to select form submissions from your website. Now, at this point, we should probably decide what are we actually going to create ads for as part of this demo, what type of business. I think a lead generation business is probably going to be the simplest, most straightforward to use as an example here. A lot of the same concepts and things apply to e-commerce, but let's just go with lead gen. And I decided let's go ahead and do, let's say we are a local tree service. Now, the reason I picked that is just because it's straightforward to understand, straightforward to advertise. To some extent, there's enough variety that we can create some different keyword patterns and things here, but still fairly easy to understand what type of business it is. We're going to want a domain so that we can actually create these ads, create some keywords, have something to work with. While we do have some clients in the tree service space, I'm not going to use their account. I'm not going to use proprietary information. So let's go ahead and just let's find a good example here. So let's say we're going to advertise Heritage Tree Care. Their website is texasheritagetreecare.com. So we're going to say form submissions from your website. We have to select one of these things, and then Google's going to email some setup instructions. I'm not going to go through how to install conversion tracking in this demo because that's a whole nother set of things. If you want tutorials about that, again, go ahead and leave a comment and let us know. So campaign name. So let's talk about structure. Here, I'm going to focus on what I'm going to call non-branded keywords that relate to what this business is selling. So a branded keyword would be someone looking for them by name, like Heritage Tree Care. Non-branded keywords would be things like a tree care near me, tree trimming near me, etc. So I'm going to call this non-branded keywords. Your campaign name could be anything. There's a billion ways to name campaigns. At the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you're using a structure so you understand what is in the campaign that you create. And then do you want enhanced conversions turned on for your account? You should use enhanced conversions. We've got other videos about what that means. I'm going to keep this turned on, and I'm going to click agree and continue. All right, so now we are getting through the settings. All right, so first of all, bidding. How do you want to bid? In other words, how are you going to enter the auction when you are competing with other ads that could show up for the keywords that we're going to target? And there are a lot of different ways that you can bid. There are different things you can bid towards, so conversions, conversion value, clicks, and impression share. And then there's different bidding strategies for each of these. So at the end of the day, ideally, you're going to get to the place where you can use either conversions or conversion value bidding. It's called smart bidding by Google, and it's where you're informing Google about what is actually working, what's turning into leads for you, or if you're an e-commerce company, what's turning into orders and revenue for you, and then you bid towards that. But initially, you don't have any of that data in your Google Ads account. You're brand new. So I generally don't recommend starting with conversions or conversions value bidding in most new accounts because you need to build up conversion data in your account before Google has those data points to use to optimize effectively. Impression share is something I only use if you're trying to, let's say, dominate your market. You're like, hey, I don't care what it costs. I want to be number one as much as possible. And very rarely do I recommend that because it costs a lot to do that. And there are very, very few businesses with a limited budget where it makes sense to try and do that. So I'm not going to recommend for most advertisers to use impression share, but it's an option. Clicks is generally generally where I'd start a new campaign in a new account like this. And you can set a maximum cost per click bid limit. So you can say, I don't want to spend more than $1, $2, $5, $10, whatever. Or you can leave it up to Google. Generally, when I start out, I'm going to not select this. And then if I see problems, CPCs that are too high based upon our goals and things, then I might go in and change this. But usually, initially, I'll just use it, set it up like this. And then here you've got another option, customer acquisition. Do you want to bid for new customers only? So this can be helpful in situations where you have a lot of customer data that you're passing back to Google, that you've already captured in Google. And if you're saying, hey, I've got particular campaigns I only want to go after new customers with. For starting out kind of brand new like we are right now in this situation, that we don't have really new customer data that we're giving to Google yet. So I'm going to leave that unselected and then continue. All right, so now we've got two options here, and Google has both of these selected by default. So search network is google.com. Go to google.com, you search for something, you see a text ad come up. That's what search network is. Largely. Now, there's also some other things that are part of search network, like Google My Business results, or I should say Google Maps results. It's complicated. I'm not going to get into everything related to that. It gets very nuanced very quickly. But primarily, search network is google.com. Google Search Partners is things like ask.com, e-commerce websites similar to Walmart.com, DuckDuckGo, a bunch of different third-party search engines, even parked domains that show ads are part of search partners for whatever reason. And so it's additional inventory that you can access with your text ads beyond just Google.com. Now, most of the time, I will start out opted into that because generally you can see decent results. It varies by client, it varies by industry. If you want more information, go watch our video, should I use Google Search Partners? But for the purposes of this demo, I'll keep it selected. Now, I almost never recommend including the Google Display Network as part of your search campaigns. The Display Network is other websites. You're browsing around, weather.com, that kind of thing. You see ads on there from Google, or you might not know they're from Google, but a lot of them are from Google. And just everything about the Display Network is very different than the Search Network. Different behavior, different placements, etc. And I very, very rarely would recommend that you show your search ads on the Display Network. Instead, if I want to run on the Display Network, I'm going to create a specific campaign for Display Network where I can control all the settings, all the targeting, all the creative separately for that audience. So I'm going to deselect that here. And then you've got your geographic targeting. So you can target by country, the entire world, by city, state, zip code, neighborhood, DMA. There's a lot of different options. And for the purposes of this, let's see. It looks like this example client here, website here, targets Austin, Texas. So let's just go ahead and we're going to enter Austin as a specific location. Here we go. We've got Austin, Texas comes up, and I'm going to target that. Now this is the DMA region. You could target just the city of Austin, Texas, or the DMA region. It depends upon your goals. I'm just going to go ahead and target the city for purposes of this demo. And you can target one location. You can target a bunch of locations. You can also exclude a location, which we can get to in a minute. You know what? I'll show you. So let's say for whatever reason I want to be really sure that no one from Houston can see our ads. Even though we're not targeting Houston, I just really don't want someone there to see our ads for whatever reason. So you can click exclude, and now we've excluded that. And you can exclude locations that are outside of what you're targeting to be, super, super safe. But most importantly, you can exclude locations within what you're targeting. So let's say maybe there's a couple of zip codes within Austin, Texas that I don't want to target. I don't service that area. I could exclude those so that my ads don't appear to people who Google understands are in those zip codes. All right, so we've got some geographic targeting set up, and you've got two options here. You can do presence or interest, people regularly in or who've shown interest in your targeted locations. This is by default chosen. Or you have presence, people in or regularly in your targeted locations. So what's the difference? Basically, with this one, anybody that Google thinks is interested in Austin, regardless of where they live, they're going to show the ads to. So for some businesses, this could be super helpful. Let's say you are in the travel space and you are advertising a resort in Cancun. Well, you want people who don't live in Cancun but are interested in Cancun, who've been searching for best resorts in Cancun, family activity ideas in Cancun, etc. So this could be perfect for you. But if you are really oriented only towards people who live in a particular area, For example, this tree company, you can only service certain areas, and so it's going to be homeowners who live in Austin in this example. Then I would generally recommend this more targeted, honed down targeting right here. All right, languages. So this one is interesting. You would assume, hey, if we have our ads in English, we should target English and move on. But the best way to think about this is browser setting. So, for example, let's say in Texas, since that's what we're using as an example here, there's a lot of bilingual people who speak both English and Spanish, and who might have maybe Spanish set as their web browser default language, but who do searching in English. So if we have English set as the language, then someone with Spanish set as their browser default setting may not be able to see our ads here, even when they're searching in English. But if we change this to, let's say, all languages, then regardless of what their browser settings are, if they're searching in English, and that's therefore matching the English keywords that we have in the account, then they can see your ad, and so that can be relevant to them. So generally for search campaigns, we'll set it to all languages. Now for display campaigns and video campaigns, I'll stick to the language of the ads because it's more contextual there as opposed to browser settings. But for search, generally go for all languages. Next up, audience segments. So you don't have to add this, but generally I recommend adding some relevant audience segments, and I'll show you what I mean. So let's say you can search and you can browse. So if you browse, you can use detailed demographics, affinity, what Google thinks people are in market for, as well as your own data you've collected from remarketing or for remarketing people on your website, even customer lists you've uploaded to Google. There's a bunch of different options. Let's search and see if there's anything related to like tree service, just for fun here. So tree service, anything pull up here? Okay, so we've got a couple options. We've got people that Google thinks are in the market for lawn and garden maintenance. Let's search through some other options here. You know, that could be relevant. We can go ahead and select that, and we could select different ones, but we'll select that. And what we're going to do here is we're going to keep it set to observation, which is recommended. So here's what that means. It means that when Google's deciding who to show your ads to, they're still only care about the keywords that we're going to select and target, but they're also going to report to you, hey, people who see your ads, who are in this in-market audience of people looking for lawn and garden maintenance, are performing at X rate. Here's the click-through rate, the number of impressions, number of clicks, conversion rate, number of conversions, all that good stuff. So you could watch and observe over time, and you might see, hey, our conversion rate for people in this audience is 5x the average of other audiences. Maybe we should capitalize that, maybe create a separate campaign only targeting that audience, things like that. And if you saw that and you said, hey, I want to have a campaign that's only targeting people who both are searching for my keywords and also have this audience set, then we could switch this to targeting. And that narrows the reach, again, to people who both are in this audience and match your keywords. But for purposes of starting out, generally we set to observation. All right, next up we have broad match keywords. This is a relatively new feature that Google has. They give you the option to, well, in this case, they don't give us the option because we're not using conversion bidding, smart bidding yet. If we had smart bidding on, I believe we'd have the option here. But it's already pre-selected to what I recommend using at this point, which is off. So in other words, I want to have the flexibility to use the keyword match types I want to use in the ad groups themselves, as opposed to telling Google that every single keyword in my campaign is broad match. So we're going to keep this off. Next up, we have more settings. So ad rotation, you have two options here. These are grayed out because they're no longer supported by Google. They haven't been for years. I don't even know why they still show up in the interface. But you've got optimize, prefer best performing ads, and do not optimize, rotate ads indefinitely. 95% of the time, I'm going to use optimize, prefer best performing ads, which means if you have multiple ads in an ad group, Google's going to try to show the one that they think is going to be the best fit for the best time when someone sees your ad. If you're trying to do a split test of your ads, you can say rotate ads indefinitely. Honestly, even here, and Google says it right here, that when you're using smart bidding, Google Ads will still basically do this even if you have this set up. So it's really only relevant if you're doing some kind of manual bidding like max clicks, manual CPC, etc. And I would say if you're trying to do a split test of ad copy or something, I would use an experiment. It's called an experiment. You can do ad variations within Google. So most of the time, I would not rotate ads indefinitely. Again, there's a caveat, an exception to every rule. So we're going to keep that set to optimize. Next up, we have start and end dates. Unless you're running a very, specific flighted campaign for, like a specific event that ends in 2 months or something, you could set an end date relative to that. If it's just, hey, I want to advertise my business, then you don't need to set an end date, and start date is today's date. So cool, you're good to go. Most of the time, you're not going to change these things. Next up, you have ad schedule. So when do you want your ads to serve? There's different ways to think about this. For most clients, I recommend starting 24/7 because, again, the beauty of search campaigns is you're only showing ads when people are searching. So if no one's awake at 12 a.m. searching for tree service, you're not spending any money. You're not showing ads. If someone is awake at 12 a.m. searching for tree service, cool. You're an opportunity there for them to see and reach out to you. Maybe call you and leave a message or fill out a form, and you get back to them next day, and you're golden. So most of the time, I'll run ads 24/7. But there's different reasons why you might not want to do that. If you're a call center and it only, all you're about is calls, and you only want calls coming in when your reps are available, well, run the ads during the time that your reps are available. Or let's say you are in a really competitive space and you have a much better close rate for leads that come in during business hours than not business hours, and you have limited ad spend, and you're trying to focus it on what's going to give you the very, very highest ROI possible. Maybe you only run ads when your reps are available. Again, there's a lot of factors that could go into that, and you can set all sorts of different schedules as needed. We're going to keep it set to all day, every day for the purposes of this demo. What else do we have? Campaign URL options. This is only relevant if you're doing some advanced tracking where you're adding UTM parameters or different things to your URLs, which is something that we may often do when we're working with clients and we're using like third-party attribution tools and things like that. But for the general advertiser, you're probably not going to do much with this. What else do we have? Brand restrictions. This is another relatively recent thing that Google has rolled out in 2023. And essentially, if you want to exclude specific brand searches, let's say that you are an e-commerce platform, you're selling stuff, you don't want to show up if someone searches for Amazon and then the thing that you sell. You can select brand lists. You can be like, hey, I don't want any Amazon related search terms to trigger my ads. And so this is something that we'll often use when we're doing different things with clients. We're trying to not show our ads for competitors or not show our ads for our own brand name or kind of sculpt traffic between different campaigns. This can be helpful towards that. You can also accomplish this through using negative keyword lists, which we'll get to in a minute. This is kind of a new way of categorically doing negative keyword lists specific to brands. All right, I think that's it for the settings to go through here. So let's click next. So next up, we've got keywords and ads. So the way that Google structures things is you have a campaign, and with the campaign, like we already looked at, that's where you set your daily budget. That's where you set your bidding strategy. That's where you set your geographic targeting. So when you think about campaigns, whenever you need different budget for specific group of ads, whenever you need to target different geography, whenever you need to use a different bidding strategy or have different goals, let's say a different target cost per lead that's different for this category, maybe the service that you sell versus another service that you sell, those are all examples of where you would use different campaigns. Then within the campaign, you're going to have different ad groups. The best way to think about different ad groups is this is how you're going to sort similar search themes together and have control over what ads they see. So for purposes of this demo, let's create two ad groups. We're going to create an ad group about kind of general tree service stuff, and then we're going to create an ad group about trimming a specific type of tree, just to show you examples of how you might segment things. So this is optional right here. If you wanted to, you could take your URL and have Google scan it to give you keyword recommendations. You could also enter your product or service to advertise. So let's just do both and see what Google gives us. We'll put this domain here, we'll put the category of service here, and we'll click Get Keyword Suggestions, and then Google's going to put a bunch of suggestions in here. Now, generally when we do keyword research for a new client, we use a bunch of different tools. We use Google Keyword Planner, we use third-party tools, we might even use things like ChatGPT, we do our own competitor research, we look through the client's website, do a bunch of different things to come up with keywords. We don't have time to do all of that during this demo, so I'm just going to use some of these options here. Now, I don't want to put this many keywords into a single ad group. The way I think about ad groups is I want them very tightly focused on a specific, what is someone specifically searching for, that I have control again over what ad I show to those people. So we're going to select a couple of these. Tree service, Cool. Let's say certified arborist tree service, same idea. Someone looking for a tree service, there's a different way to look for it. And then tree arborist. Let's go with those. I'm going to go with those 3. I could do more, but I'm going to go with those 3. Now, there's 3 different match types that you can use. Right now, when they have no symbols in the keywords, this means that they are broad match, which means Google has the maximum flexibility to match search terms that they think are relevant to these keywords. You could get a little bit more specific and make these phrase match by putting a quotation mark outside of each of these. Phrase match, if you want to learn more, you can click learn more down here to see all this information. But phrase match is kind of the medium match type. So that's phrase match. Then after phrase match, you have exact match. Exact match is denoted by these brackets on either side of the terms. And exact match is the tightest match type. And in theory, you're telling Google, I only want my ads to show if someone types these exact words into Google. Now, here's the reality. Match types are more suggestions to Google at this point. Exact match, you're going to have search terms that match to your keywords that are different than these 3 phrases here. Same thing for phrase match, same thing for broad match. Great example, we got a client just looking at today. They're in the moving space, and the keyword was, I think, long distance moving companies, phrase match, and the search term was moving LA to SF. The intent is similar, it's a long distance move. The words obviously extremely different than what was in the phrase. So keep that in mind, and that's why you need someone keeping a very close eye after you launch and regularly as you optimize and improve campaigns, looking at what actual search terms are triggering your ads, because there will be irrelevant search terms. There will be things that waste your money, and you need someone regularly adding negative keywords to cut that wasted ad spend, or else you're going to keep wasting that money. So let's go ahead. I would say for a lot of new, like brand new accounts like this one, I'm going to start with phrase match, kind of in the middle. Broad match is maybe a little bit more aggressive than I'd like to be starting out, unless I have a lot of budget to start with from day one. Exact match is fairly more restrictive, so often I'll start with phrase match. All right, so we've got phrase match, cool, and we're going to go down here and create an ad. So first of all, where do we want to send the traffic? Well, you want to send the traffic to the best place on your website for that traffic to go. Often you may want to design a landing page so that you fully control what that experience looks like when someone clicks through. You tell them exactly what you want them to see, what you want them to do, and ideally give them the best experience. You don't want someone clicking on your ad and going to your jobs page. That would be really not a good experience. They're not going to see immediately what they want. They're going to move away, leave the website, and you're going to have wasted that money. So in this case, I'm going to just use the homepage for purposes of this demo, but you want to use a page that's as relevant as possible, or create a page that's as relevant as possible to the person seeing your ad. Next up, you've got display path. So this is something that confuses a lot of people because they assume that what shows up here is the actual page on your website. But no, this is basically where you can just provide some additional context information to the person seeing your ad. So we're going to take them to this URL, but we could say here, tree arborist. Let's just say that as an example here. So now when someone sees the ad, they could see, and you'll see this update here, that you've got your website /tree/arborist. It just gives some more information. When someone clicks on it, they're not actually going to go to /tree/arborist. They're going to go to the homepage because that's the URL that you have right here in this final URL location. But it gives more context clues about where you're taking them to. And as you have different ad groups for different things, I'll show you as we create another ad group that's kind of tree specific. We'll have something in here that's specific to that tree that shows, hey, we're super relevant to what you're searching for. All right, so next up, you have up to 15 headlines that you could add. Now, your ad's not going to have 15 headlines. Max is going to have 3 headlines. You can have 2 or 3 headlines that can show up. But you could have up to 15. And this is because this is what Google calls a responsive search ad. And Google's going to mix and match different headlines as well as different descriptions that we add to try and find what combinations work best. So what they're looking for is to give them a bunch of options to work with. And again, they're going to try and use AI to figure out the best options. So there's a lot I could say about whether you should use all 15, whether you should use fewer. Got other videos that you can watch, more information about that. For the purposes of this demo, let's go ahead and use close to the 15. And what they're doing right here, when I click here, they have, because I entered the website URL up here, they've crawled the website and they're recommending a bunch of headlines to work with. You can see these are all things they're pulling from the website. Some of them may be cool, some of them could be terrible. I wouldn't want just the word Austin probably to be my headline in most cases, but full range of tree services, that's not a terrible headline. Austin tree service, we're targeting Austin, that's super relevant, so forth and so on. Some of these look decent, some of them, again, not so much. And then some of them, you can write a more compelling ad copy with an offer, for example. So let's say, save 10% on your first trim. I'm just making this up, but again, if you have an offer like that, you could put that in. And also, it's recommended as much as possible, try and leverage numbers, dollar signs, the word free, different things that people kind of organically connect with that are emotional. Giving at least some of your headlines, using some of your headlines with those types of things can be helpful to give, again, the system options of a bunch of different types of headlines to work with and to see what people react to. So I'm going to leave it at that number of headlines for purposes of this demo. I don't want to spend all our time just, writing an ad here, but you get the idea. Like I said, there's other videos that go more into depth of what is a really good ad. What does it take to write a fantastic ad? Then description. So important to note, you have a 30-character limit on your headline, and you can see dynamically right here. This is the number of characters you've used. This is the number of characters that you're allowed to use. If you use more than that number of characters, it will go red, and you cannot save your ad until you have got it back down to 30 or less. With descriptions, you have up to 90 characters, so longer, more complete sentences or multiple sentences usually. I'm going to go ahead and pick a couple of pre-recommended options here. Again, not spending too much time writing the ad. You get the idea. Boom, cool. Got some descriptions to work with. Next up, business name and logos. So if I click Get Access, that's going to actually open us a new tab. And in order to use a business logo and name, you have to go through what they call advertiser verification, which is where generally you upload a business document if you are advertising as a business, or a photo ID if you're advertising it as an individual. And before you do that, we would have to enter billing information into the account. I'm not entering billing information to the account, so I'm not going to do that right now, but it is something I recommend you go ahead and do if you were actually doing this, and then you could use your business name and logo in the ads. Next up, we've got site links. So what is a site link? Site link is that text that appears below a text ad. Let's see if we can bring up a live example here. All right, cool. So here's an example. This is the primary link for the ad. So this is the link that we put, get out of this here for a second. That's the link that we put up here in the final URL. These other blue links down here, these are called site links. And you can see they point to other places on this advertiser's website. And you can see it makes the ad bigger, takes up more space, pushes this next advertiser down. Those are all good things. So I definitely recommend using site links. Point them to the most relevant pages possible on your website, rather than pointing to your blog, which probably is not a great place to send people. Point to your contact page, maybe your about page, your reviews page, pages that would be genuinely helpful for people to go check out as part of researching you. You could also create additional landing pages, maybe that are even similar to the landing page that you're using for your primary ad, and call them different things so that you have as much control as possible over where people get to on your website, but you're still taking advantage of these additional site links. You can have, I think, as few as 2 and as many as, a bunch of site links. Generally kind of 4 or so is what I shoot for, to have at least 4 site links. And to create a site link, I'll just go ahead and show you as an example. So you have to have text up here at the top, up to 25 characters. We're going to use the contact us page as a site link. And then you can have a description. It's not required, it's recommended. I'm going to say, contact us to get, I'm going to put down here, your free quote. You can do all sorts of things. You can do complete thoughts, run-on thoughts like this. Sometimes Google will show this description lines, sometimes not. You can see in the example right here, they're not showing it. So there's no guarantee that this information is going to show up. And then you put the URL that you want to send people to right there. Let's do site link number 2. Let's send it to the pruning page. Maybe you want to show people, hey, we do pruning. Let's send you directly to that page if you want to click on that. So awesome. We'll put pruning there. Check out our tree pruning services. Again, I'm not spending time thinking through amazing ad copy here, just giving you the idea. So cool. We'll do 2 site links for purposes of this demo. All right. We're going to click this create button here. Actually, nope, we're going to go out of this. This is one of the fun new things in the new interface. Cool. We can click the X here. Yes, we want to save. Awesome. Now you see those show up right there. Next up, we have callouts. So callouts is where you can add additional text. This is additional text that shows up below the ad, or can show up below the ad. There's no guarantee it will. Often you'll do things like, in business for 35 years. You could do free, call for free quote. You could do, A+ rated, things like that. Kind of little features, benefits, credibility elements about your website are perfect to go there. Here we'll put licensed and insured. There we go. That's something that matters in this space. You've got advanced options. You can schedule when you want them to show up. Most of the time, you don't need to worry about that. So you can click save. Now we've got callouts. And the way that I would view these assets, they used to be called extensions. Now they're called assets, is the more the merrier. The more you can use that are relevant to you, the more options you're giving to Google to make your ad bigger, to see what connects well with people, to push competitors further down the space, to improve your ad rank and strength. So the more the merrier. And there's a bunch of options. Promotions. This would be if you have a specific promotion. So you could set a specific occasion like a holiday, etc., or you could keep it to none. You can select your language, and you can either have a monetary discount or % discount, and up to either of those things. So for example, let's say you're offering 10% off first visit, first tree service. We could say 10% off, and then we'll say off of first tree trim. Let's say that. And then you have to have a URL. You could use the same URL as you're using for the main ad, or you could use something different that has information specifically about that promotion. Like if you're doing Black Friday, you've got a list of Black Friday sales, for example. Here we'll do this. You could put a promo code. You could put on orders over, or you can leave it blank. You can select dates. You can leave them blank. A lot of different options. We'll save that and boom, apply that. You're good to go. Prices. This is relevant if you have pages with different prices. Let's say on their website, let's say they had their prices for their different tree removal, tree pruning, etc. You could go ahead and you have to have at least 3 prices in order to use this feature. But you create a header, you create the cost, description, the URL, etc. And then someone could see tree pruning for $500. Tree removal for $1,000, just making up random numbers, and they get more context about your service, what it costs, even before they engage with your ad. They could click on those things to go to specific places. E-commerce clients use this a lot. You might have a category, let's say, umbrellas, $5, promotional swag, $10, whatever. I'm just picking random things, but you'll often use price extensions in the e-commerce space. Not necessarily as much in the lead gen space where there's more custom quoting rather than flat prices. Calls. This one is really important as well. If you want phone calls, generally you want to put your number here. And this is something that can appear in the ad copy itself even before someone clicks through to the website. So I'm going to actually grab their phone number and place it in here like that. I prefer to go like that, have parentheses like that and hyphen, all that good stuff. And cool, now you've got this option. Now, sometimes you might not want to use a call asset if it's incredibly important that people get to your website before they call you. If, let's say, for example, you're getting a bunch of random or irrelevant calls from people who just saw your phone number show up here and tapped on it, especially on their phone before getting to your website. If that's happening to you, you might want to turn this off, but otherwise you generally want to use this. So we'll save that and apply that. Now, structured snippets, kind of similar to callouts that we already added, but there's more structure to them, hence the name, structured snippet. So you have a bunch of different headers that you could use. Often, if none of these are relevant to you, so let's say, for example, neighborhoods. If you want to say, hey, we service this series of neighborhoods, you could put that in there. Be really cool. Kind of a default option could be types. So we could do something like tree removal, tree pruning, tree trimming, as an example. And now that could show up. Here's an example. It says types, : and then 1, 2, 3. And you can have more than 3 structured snippets. So we'll create that and save that. Next up, you've got lead forms. A lead form is it's an option where you could create this and people could actually fill out information directly through your ad without even getting to your website. Now, I would say at this point, for a lot of advertisers, I don't recommend this, because if someone hasn't clicked through your ad and gotten to your website, often they don't have much information about you, and so they're a low quality lead. Now, there's exceptions to that. There's plenty of times we do use lead forms, but keep that in mind. And we do see a lot of issues right now with these lead forms not necessarily being high quality. Apps, if you have an app, you can deep link to it from your ad. Most people don't have an app, so it's irrelevant. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but that's an option that you could leverage. Now we're going to click done on this ad group. So now we have an ad and an ad group. We're going to click next. Now we can set budgets. I'm not actually running this campaign, so I'm going to simply set a budget of 1 cent. But this is where you'd set your daily budget. So let's say, for example, you want to spend $5,000 per month in advertising. The way you get to your daily budget from that is you take that monthly budget and you divide it by 30.4, which is the average number of days in a month. That would be between $164 and $165. So you could set that as your daily budget. And then that's telling Google, hey, over a month on average, we're not going to spend more than $5,000. Now, Google can spend more than your daily budget in a given day. They can spend up to twice your daily budget. And this confuses a lot of people because they're like, hey, my daily budget is $165. Google spent $200. How can they do that? That's fraud. The way that Google looks at it is they look at your daily budget as an average across a month. So they're telling you, we're not going to spend more than $5,000 in the month because that's the average of 30.4 times your daily budget. But we might spend $200 one day because there was more search traffic. And then if we do that for a couple days and we know we need to spend less in order to hit that monthly average, then we might spend $120 the next couple of days while we try and average that out. So don't get too confused if you see that going on with your campaigns. All right, we're going to click next from here, and they're going to have us they're going to check for errors, let us know if they see any problems with what we put together here. They're not going to like how small the budget is, but so you're going to see like a warning thing here under budget. I think a warning thing under bidding because they want us to use smart bidding, but again, we don't have conversions yet, so we're not going to use that. They're going to give you recommendations, etc., but we're good to go here for purposes of this demo. So let's click Publish Campaign. I don't want to run this campaign. It couldn't run anyway because there's no payment information in the account, but I'm going to go ahead and pause the campaign as well, just for funsies here. But now it's created, and we can see the campaign. If we go over to campaigns here, there's the campaign. It's paused right now. We can see the ad groups, the ads, etc. Now I told you I'm going to create another ad group because I want to show you how to do different search themes and different ad copy. So within the same campaign, because I want to target the same geography, I'm okay with the same daily budget, etc. I'm going to create a new ad group with a new ad inside that ad group. So we're going to do this. We're going to keep it as a standard ad group type, and we're going to call it oak trees. So there's a lot of oak trees in Texas, and I'm going to decide that maybe people are searching specifically about how to trim oak trees, and we're going to create ads that are super relevant to that are more relevant than the general ads we created for someone who's generally looking for tree service. So here I'm going to say oak tree trimming. I'm going to say oak tree removal. And you know what? I'm going to use phrase match instead of exact match for the reasons we talked about previously. And we'll just go with those two keywords as an example. So cool, save and continue. And then we have the add option here. So let's say, in this example, let's just pretend that this landing page here is specifically about oak trees. So we would use that as a landing page, and that's going to be as relevant an experience as possible to someone searching. So if I type trim my oak tree and I see multiple ads that come up, and one of those ads says, Austin oak tree trimming, and the other just says tree trimming service, guess which one's more relevant to me? The one that mentions oak tree. It's more relevant to the search term, so it's going to have higher ad rank from Google's perspective, and it's probably going to have higher click-through rate because it's more relevant to what people are searching for. So I'm going to write an ad that's specific to that. In the display URL, I'm going to say oak tree trimming. Boom, already more relevant. And that's giving people the understanding that, hey, when I click on this URL, it's going to take me to a page that has to do specifically with oak tree trimming. Then, here, we're going to say oak tree trimming. We're going to say Austin oak tree service, trusted oak tree service. You get the idea. That's too long, so we won't do that. But we would customize the ad copy to be specific to oak tree, as well as the other features and things we want to make sure people know about our business. We would probably edit the description as well to be oak tree specific, etc. We might even change some site links. We might have custom site links that say oak tree removal, oak tree trimming, etc. How deep you want to go depends upon how much search traffic there is. You know, if 5 people a month are searching for oak tree trimming, you don't need to waste your time building out ads because there's just not enough volume for it to make sense. But if you've got thousands of people searching for that, hey, that might be relevant and might be worth the time of building out the ad group and keywords and so forth. So we'll click done. We'll click save and continue. And now we have 2 ad groups, and we could rename this other ad group to say like tree service, to remind us of what types of keywords we have and what type of ad we have in that ad group. All right, so what else could we do? Well, we've got the core parts of the campaigns taken care of: the campaign, the settings, the ad group, the ads, and the keywords. What else could we do? Oh, and also the assets like site links, callouts, etc. We even have audiences. Negative keywords is the other big thing that we can add. So think of a negative keyword as the opposite of the keywords that we added. Keywords are what you're trying to show your ads for when people search. Negative keywords are you telling Google, I do not want to show my ad to people who search for this thing. I'll give you a fantastic example of a negative keyword that we want to use in the tree service space. And this is a real life story from one of our clients who is a tree trimming company, tree service. When they came to us back in the day as a client, we did an evaluation of their Google Ads account for free. We do this for a lot of businesses before they work with us to show them, what it would be like to work with us. And we looked at their search terms, what actual searches on Google were matching to the keywords they were targeting. And you know what they were spending a lot of money on? Dollar Tree. It had the word tree in it, so from Google's perspective, it was relevant to some of their keywords like tree service, tree trimming, etc. Obviously, it's someone looking for Dollar Tree. The dollar store chain has nothing to do with tree trimming, and they're just wasting money. And people don't read ads. They click on the first thing they see sometimes. And so you might be like, well, hey, obviously someone searching for Dollar Tree is not actually going to click on the ad because it's not relevant to them. They do. It just happens. You waste money. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to add a negative keyword to prevent that from happening. So you can add negative keywords at the ad group level, at the campaign level, and at the account level through a shared library. I'm going to add it through a shared library so that I could easily add this negative keywords to other campaigns in the future as I create them. But there might be reasons why you'd add them at the campaign or ad group level as well. Let's say, for example, that this client wanted to target people who are searching for them by name, but they wanted to put all of those branded search terms into a single campaign so they could control how much they're budgeting for that and see what the performance is for that campaign relative to other campaigns. In order to do that, we might add a negative keyword at the campaign level for this non-branded campaign. So we could go into this non-branded keywords campaign, and let's go ahead and add some negative keywords, and let's see where Google hid the negative keyword option in the new interface. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and actually search. All right, so we've got it here, negative search keywords. It's under campaigns, audience keywords, content, search keywords, negative search keywords. Cool. So that takes us over here. So you can see, okay, they've got these tabs here. You got search keywords and negative search keywords. So at the campaign level, we could add some new negative keywords. Add it to the campaign, this campaign, and we could say heritage tree care, or even just the word heritage. So if we do this and we leave it as a broad match negative keyword, this means that anyone who searches for heritage cannot trigger ads from this campaign. Now they might trigger ads without this because if they say heritage tree service or heritage tree care, that's going to match to our tree service keyword that we have in the campaign. Hence why we put heritage here. So we'll have heritage, we'll save that. Now we're excluding branded keywords or branded searches from this campaign, and we could have a different campaign, target heritage tree care as the keyword in that campaign, and then when someone searches heritage, they can only trigger ads from that campaign. For the shared library, I'm just going to search shared library, negative keyword lists. All right, so let's go to negative keyword lists. This is another place in the Google Ads account where you can have a list of negative keywords you could apply across multiple campaigns. So we're going to create a list. I'm just going to call it negative keywords. Not feeling too creative at the moment. And in here, we're going to put Dollar Tree, like we talked about. We could put things like free if you don't want people searching for free tree service, or DIY, or fill in the blank. There's all sorts of negative keywords that you could add, but we'll just go with those as examples. So we'll create that, and then we'll apply this. Don't forget to apply this to your campaign, otherwise it does you no good. So we're going to apply it to the non-branded keywords campaign. Boom. Now, if someone searches anything that includes those words, dollar, DIY, free, they're not going to be able to trigger the ads in this campaign. So let's go back to our campaigns. And now that we've got that set up, you can see here options for looking at the different things we set up, like ad schedule, location, targeting, etc. Here's where you can see what's going on. And then once you start running, you'll see different insights. You'll see insights into competition, the search terms, the actual words that you're showing your ads for, the landing pages you're showing traffic to, etc. But at this point, this is a search campaign. It's created, it's ready to run. And so hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, there's all different types of campaigns. This is kind of the low-hanging fruit that most clients start with. But if you would like more tutorials like this about the other campaigns, leave me a comment, let me know, and we can create more. And if there's specific things that you want insight into, there's lots of other videos on our YouTube channel you can go and watch for things like search partners and bidding strategies, more information about assets, conversion tracking, all sorts of things. Go check it out. If you can't find something, leave a comment, let us know, and we can make it. So until next time, hope this was helpful. Go forth, conquer, make some fantastic Google Ads campaigns, dominate it, make some money for your business, and let us know how it goes.